Angry guy here, and your coworkers are not your friends. Guys, today we're discussing why your coworkers are not your friends. This is my channel. I can basically talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about on this channel. But anyway, there was a video that popped up in my feed on YouTube recently. Your coworkers are not your friends. And this is something that's very true because people often fail to understand this concept. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's hear what this guy has to say. I'm going to go ahead and put this on 1.5 times speed because I'm a bastard like that. And let's go ahead and listen.
So if you're okay with it, I think I'm going to start this one off with a little story. When I graduated from college and I joined the workforce, my very first job was as an HR professional and HR generalist in a manufacturing and global engineering company. And I was sent around the country to different locations and was fairly nomadic for about 2 years or so. During one of my rotations, I ended up working in a pretty small town. Since I wasn't from there, I didn't know anybody. There was a manufacturing facility and there was a sister facility that was about a mile down the road that was even smaller. And the focus of my job as an HR professional was to go between these two facilities to ensure they had the proper staffing. I did a lot of recruiting. And I was also in charge of employee relations for this small plant. So I would go down there frequently and I would walk the floor and I would kind of chat with people and see how things were going. And there was a guy in particular who worked in this plant who was about my age. He was a line worker. I ended up finding myself talking to him more and more because we had a lot in common. And so one day he asked me, how are you liking the town? And I told him, it's fine. I don't really know anybody here, so it's kind of boring, but I'm making the best of it. And he said, I tell you what, if you want to come out with my friends and I, we're going to be going out to a bar this weekend and you're welcome to tag along. And since we had been getting along pretty well and developing a pretty good rapport, I actually started to consider him somewhat of a friend. And I said, yeah, sure, that sounds great. So that Friday came along. I went out and met him at a local bar. We had a few beers. Everything was great. We were just chit-chatting. And inevitably, the conversation turned to work at some point during the night, as it might with a co-quest. Said, so what do you think of the new boss? And the context of that was that there was a new supervisor at that location who was very inexperienced and had just gotten promoted to his first leadership job. So part of my job was helping him develop relationships. So I made a comment that I thought was relatively innocent. I said, yeah, Joe's doing well. He's relatively new to his role, so he's still growing and I'm helping him with some things. And he just nodded in agreement. And that was the extent of that conversation. And then we just finished off the rest of our night. Sure enough, next week, I get a call into my boss's office and she says to me, hey, have you been having conversations with the employees about the leadership team down there? And I said, what do you mean? She said, I got a phone call from a very upset Joe who said that you were out spreading rumors about him to the employees that he wasn't a good leader. I immediately knew what she was talking about when she said that. And I said, oh, it's because of this guy, isn't it? She said, yeah, that's the person who first thing Monday morning went right into his office and said, Brian doesn't have any faith in you as a leader. And I'm sitting there just like dumbfounded going, how dare this guy break my trust like this over a very innocent comment? So of course I tell my boss what happened and that I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And she said, well, you're going to have to clean up this mess and you're going to have to go and make amends with Joe because if you don't, you're not going to have a very effective relationship with him as an HR person. So I had to go down and have a sit down with Joe and explain to him exactly what happened, profusely apologize and explain that it would never happen again. And on my weekly rounds at that plant, I made sure that I never engaged with him in that regard again. So the moral of this story is I learned the hard way that you have to be very careful with people that you choose to be friendly with at work. And to be perfectly honest with you, that's not the only story that I have in my career where I've had something like that happen. And that's where I learned very quickly that you got to be very careful who you buddy up with. So let's put this into a little bit of context.
Well, so here's the thing about life. That guy is a fucktard, and that's the reason why he'll some people who you will become friends with, and those friendships will last many years after you've left that job. I mean, I had people, the people that I worked with 10, 20 years ago, and I still had kept in touch with some of those people. So some of those people can become your friends, but don't assume that your coworkers are just your friends. I mean, if you've built bonds with these people, like, you've gotten drunk together, you're spending time at each other's house and stuff like that, then yeah, you guys become friends. But don't just assume. Don't just assume that these people are your friends. I think that's something that people fall apart. Like, they're in a new environment and they don't really feel people out very well. Like, you have to get to know people. You have to really sit down with them. This guy, unfortunately, he sat down with some people, and I'll say this: that guy was the guy who did that and said something. That guy's a fucking idiot. That guy was a total fucking idiot. You have to build trust. You have to build trust. And when you go out with someone, things that they say when you're out, you don't repeat that at work. Like, these are things you learn. Like, things that happen outside of work, you do not repeat them at work. For example, this HR guy, he could have helped you. He could have helped this guy to move up in the company. He could have helped you to get a raise. But, I'll tell you guys something very interesting about Korea. This is something that I learned in business school. I have a degree from one of the top business schools in the world. We have this insane level of accreditation. It's so insane that, like, I can go and become a CPA without having to, like, do additional schooling. It's ridiculous. And At this business school, one of the professors, decides to tell us how business is actually done around the world. And one of the things that he tells us is that in South Korea, for example, it was, or at least it was at that time, normal for two businessmen to go and because actual business is not done in boardrooms. This is what we learned. Actual business is not done in boardrooms. It's done over food. It's done over. Let's correct myself. Actual business is not done in boardrooms. It's done over alcohol, drugs, and hookers. This is really fucked up to put it like that. Okay, boardrooms are for very quick meetings, very quick meetings, just to basically align certain things. In fact, many larger meetings where you're sitting down and you're actually really exchanging information when you're working on a team. Yeah, that boardrooms are a terrible place to actually get things done. It's a crazy phenomenon because it's just the very structure of them. Um, the way that business is actually done, this is what the professor told us. He said that, like in South Korea, two businessmen, like a businessman from this company and a CEO from this company and a CEO from this company, are two representatives. They will go and they'll sit down, they'll drink together, and then they'll get a hooker together. They'll get a prostitute, and then they'll take turns and they'll go and get a room, and they will take turns having sex with her. And you say, well, why do they do this? And the idea is that if they can fuck a whore together and keep that amongst themselves, then maybe they won't fuck each other over in business. This is this is a tradition. This is a tradition that is done. This is how serious, and you can understand when you're dealing with hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, you sure better know who you're getting in bed with. You better know who the fuck you're getting in bed with, because things will happen in business. Bad things, all right? You can't have people who are going to run to the regulators every 5 minutes. You can't have snitches, all right? I would be like the fact that a Tekashi 6ix9ine is still walking. No. He wouldn't be walking around South Korea. Some businessman would have unalived him. All right, some angry businessman would have unalived. He would not try. I'm telling y'all right now. That snitching shit. That's dirty stuff, man. That's dirty fucking stuff. That snitching shit is real bad stuff. This poor guy, he just didn't realize, like, you got to be careful because you never know. A snitch is a snitch. Snitches are terrible. They have no place. They have no business doing these types of things. Unfortunately, he was dealing with a snitch. Unfortunately, this poor guy was dealing with a snitch, and snitches are bitches. Just remember, snitches are bitches.
As to why you should be very careful. Now, obviously, in this case, I potentially overshared, even though I didn't realize I was doing it at the time. It seemed to me to be a very innocent comment. And for whatever reason, this person had an ulterior motive and decided to go stir the pot a little bit. So when you overshare, even if it seems innocent, it always seems to find a way of getting back to you through your boss. And the problem with that is if your boss starts to hear things through the grapevine that you're not to be trusted, then it becomes a major credibility issue with you, and your long-term career potential could be stunted as a result of that. Because trust me, you don't have a reputation of being untrustworthy. Same thing goes for gossiping. And I don't think that there's an office on this planet that doesn't have an office gossip. And everybody knows who they are. And I'm sure if you're thinking about this, it only takes you a second to come up with the list of who the gossips are in your organization. And you can generally find them congregating together in either the lunchroom or the proverbial water cooler. And the water cooler talk tends to be with people who like to stir up drama and gossip about other people. The problem with it is that there's a very easy tendency to cross the line into oversharing or potentially saying something that you're going to regret later. But the even bigger concern is that you're going to be branded as an office gossip if you hang out with those people. Because here's the thing, you are who you hang out with. And so if you're looking to move upward in your career, don't hang out with the gossips and the people who aren't going places. Because like it or not, people, and by people, I mean bosses and the leadership teams, know who hangs out in which cliques, and just try moving up in the organization when you're branded that way. So if you need to go into the water cooler, get your water, say your hellos, and then leave. But don't get sucked into the drama, because that's where the drama usually starts in office settings. And in my years as an HR professional, I can't tell you how many times I had to defuse an employee relations situation, and there was always usually one of three usual suspects. That was the office gossips. Not only that, but the office gossips tend to be the people who are negative. And if you're working with somebody in your department who has a negative mindset, they're going to inevitably bring you down if you spend too much time with them. And these types types. They've always got something to complain about. The boss is always wrong. The company's always doing something shady. There's never anything good going on in the organization. You're getting underpaid. We're getting screwed. We're working too many hours. All of these things. And usually the genesis of it is one or two negative people. And one or two negative people tends to be a cancer in a group, especially if you're somebody that is really focused on upward mobility. That can be very distracting. So you want to be careful to avoid the negative people in your workspace because they could tend to drag you down with them. And even though you may be very friendly with somebody, wait until there's an opportunity in an organization for a promotion and you get it over them to see how long that lasts, because it can be uber competitive and quite awkward if one day you're the coworker and the next day you're their supervisor. And if you're lucky enough to get that promotion, now you've got a coworker who has spent all that time at the water cooler with you and knows all your dirty secrets. So now it's going to compromise, especially if you put into an awkward situation where you might know something that they don't, because an unscrupulous coworker could dangle that in front of you and you might be held hostage a little bit. Not to mention, if you're trying to go places and you've got somebody that's jealous of your progression, it could hold you back as well. Another dynamic to be really careful about, in addition to the one that I found out the hard way of oversharing, is when you start putting back some drinks and you start getting a little loose and a little inebriated, you start to have loose lips, you start to get a little too touchy-feely. There's a very fine line between being chummy and harassment. And it doesn't always have to be the kind that you're thinking. It could be something like an off-color joke that's told and you don't know who you're offending. And an old adage that we used to say in HR is anything that you say or do at work can come back to haunt you at a later date. So just be really careful if you partake in things like happy hours or other events that might be outside of work hours. But
unfortunately, we live in this society with social media today, and people are a lot more sensitive. Like, let me tell you something. Back in the old days, you could get away with a lot. Even 20 years ago, you could get away with a lot. All right. Anyway, guys, I mean, your coworkers aren't your friends. Have you had experiences like this, where people are a little bit backstabby? I mean, what has been your personal experience with this, realizing that certain people just aren't your friends, and how to navigate and figure out who you can really trust versus who you really can't trust? You know what's fucked up? What was really fucked up? Videos like this video, for example, that I'm putting out right now, I didn't put a lot of work into it. I haven't put a lot of thought into it. And being a YouTuber, it'll be videos. I mean, maybe this video won't get a lot of views, but it's videos like this that I don't really give a shit about this video. Like this video, I really don't give a shit about. And it'll be a video just like this that ends up getting shitload of views. It always happens like that. Not always, but so often, as in always. But it's constant. All right. Like the video where you just didn't give a fuck, like you didn't give a fuck about the video. That's the video that gets like tons of views. You're like, what the flying fuck? I didn't even put in any work on this video. Like it took me 5 minutes to throw this shit together. And somehow there are people searching for this. Like, fuck out, get the fuck out of here. But that's just me. That's just me. It's like the story of my life. I'm not even gonna put a lot of work into the the thumbnail for this video. Like literally as I'm talking to you guys right now, I'm literally making the thumbnail. Like the picture that you're seeing on the screen right here, I literally just like took a screenshot of that, uploading that motherfucker to Canva right now, dragging that onto the template and adding a title. Let's call this like, are they really like who really is? What should I call this video? Like, I don't know, who really is your friend? Like, who really is your friend, right? And I'm gonna call it that, and put it down there, and just because I don't really give a fuck, I don't care, and that's it. Like I like it's videos like this that piss me off because people end up watching them. But anyway, that's the life of a YouTuber. That's the life of a YouTuber, and we can't really complain. We just have to be grateful for small blessings. Oh, fuck that. I want it all. Anyway, guys, what do you think about that? Having a hard time figuring out who your friends are from who aren't your friends, and dealing with unstable YouTubers like myself. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, and you want to request a topic, there's a topic that you want me to cover because you're like, what, Angry, I don't like some of the topics you're covering. They're fucking boring. And I think I could do a better job choosing your videos. Okay, fine. Put your money where your mouth is. Send me, go to the description of the video. You can find all the information you needed there to send me your topic, along with a contribution, because I'm not doing shit for free, and I'll make a video for you, and we'll just I'll talk about it, and if people like it, and I will give you credit. Of course, I will give you credit, for suggesting the video and the concept and the topic and everything. You'll get full credit for that, and if people like it, they'll say, okay, bros, hey, you're good job, choosing the topic, and that's you'll get your dues that way. But yeah, and guys, I hate using the word I've worked so hard to try to eliminate the word from my vocabulary because makes people sound. I don't want to say dumb, but anyway, yeah, it's better to just pause sometimes. Anyway, if you guys want to show some love for the work that I'm doing here, definitely drop some cash via Cash App, Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo. All links in the description of the video. You can also. This is a great option for you guys, for you fuck boys. You can also head over to patreon.com/angry guy, and you can get these videos up to 1 week early, or find bonus videos and other bonus content that is not available here on YouTube, and support and also help to support the channel that way. It's such a great opportunity for you people. Anyway, that's all I have for you right now. I want to know what you think in the comments about what we discussed today regarding knowing who your friends are and who your friends aren't. And, are your coworkers your friends? Obviously, they aren't. If you just be random people that you can make some really good friends that will become lifelong friends, even that you've worked with. But you should just never assume that. You have to really get to know people before you open up to them. And even then, sometimes just a very simple offhand comment can be dangerous because these people are two-faced. You're dealing with bitches these days. Stitching has become a cultural thing. It's become a cultural thing. Back in the 90s, they terrorized these motherfuckers. Like literally, it was a political movement. Stop stitching. Like even in police departments, police will use snitches, but they don't like snitches. Cops don't like snitches. Cops don't they like snitches. They like snitches in terms of getting information when it comes to like closing a case and shit like that. But even those motherfuckers, they hate them. Cops hate the same snitches that police officers use. They hate those motherfuckers. They love to use them, but they hate them as people. They don't want them around them. They're like, you're a fucking snitch, bro. Like you're a fucking snitch, dude. Like you're less than human. Like snitches are a terrible thing. I was happy to see Tekashi 6ix9ine get his ass beat the other day for what he did. Like they finally caught him. He was like in this upper class neighborhood in like California or someplace. I don't know if it's California or Florida. And he was at a Planet Fitness. And some dudes came and just whooped his ass. And then they were beating his ass on the ground and stopping him. And they were like, shut the fuck up. Oh my gosh. That was unbelievable. And Tekashi's there walking around in his little shorts. And he looked so bewildered. Like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? Like, you stitched on even your boys, man. You snitch on even your boys. I mean, this is what happens. It's what happens, bro. In fact, you're not even my bro. Like, I just called Tekashi like, ew. That's what happens, dude. I don't even know what to call that, man. Like, anyway, hopefully this is just the beginning of a long wintry hell for that motherfucker. But let me know what you think about the topic of this video. They're not your friends, blah 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 blah. Anyway, we'll talk more about it in the comments. Turn on notifications to never miss another video ever again. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.